Welcome to Storytimer. Laurie Joe Lopez and Gerald E. Bunche III, 1975, Gary, Indiana. On the evening of April 6, 1975, two teenagers went on a date. The 18-year-olds were Laurie and Gerald. They borrowed Laurie's mom's car. It should have been a fun night out, but the two teens never made it home. Laurie Jo Lopez graduated from Kankakee Valley High. She lived southeast of Gary, Indiana, at 10 Windsor Drive, outside of the town of DeMott, Indiana. She had moved there a few years earlier from Gary, and she had gone to a different high school. She had gone to Lew Wallace High School, and there she met Gerald Ellsworth Bunche III. Gerald Ellsworth Bunche III was born on January 3rd, 1957. He went to Lew Wallace High School in Gary and lived at 1145 Whitcomb Street. He was the son of Erdell and Gerald Bunche Jr. He was an active high school kid. He played basketball and he was pretty good. Laurie Lopez was the daughter of Frank Lopez. Her mother's name was not originally known to me. Her mother is not listed on her death certificate, and I was initially unable to find any information about Laurie's mom or possible siblings. Laurie's stepfather was Sergeant James E. Rodriguez of the Gary Police Department. I usually am able to find out things like where the teens might have worked or gone to church. Sometimes I can find out about their plans for the future, but so little was published about these two young people at the time. What happened here? Was this a racially motivated killing? I mean, Laurie was Hispanic and Gerald was black. It definitely seems like a racially motivated killing to me. If not, was there a person who was jealous enough, perhaps, to commit murder? Was this a robbery or an abduction that turned deadly? Were Gerald and Laurie's family members and community okay with them dating? Interracial relationships can be a difficult thing for people to accept now sometimes, but definitely it was difficult in 1975. The general public in the U.S. in 1975 was definitely not comfortable with interracial dating, shamefully. I know that in the 1980s, there were girls in my high school who said that their male family members, their dad or their grandpa, had threatened their lives if they ever dared to date outside their race. And that's in the late 1980s. So you can imagine what the mid-70s were like. The car that they drove on their date was found on Gary's east side near the intersection of 5th Avenue and Alabama Street. That's way far away from where Gerald lived. Once, the car was found and was towed away. Once the car was back at the Gary police station, Gerald's body was found in the trunk. I assume because the car belonged to Sergeant Rodriguez, Laurie's stepdad, that's why it was towed back to the Gary police station. Gerald's body, of course, like I mentioned, was found in the trunk, and he had been shot in the head. Laurie's body was found on Gary's southwest side, complete opposite side of town, in the weeds, off the side of the road at 4200 West 25th Avenue in Calumet Township. She had been shot twice in the head. 2 .25 caliber shell casings were found near her feet. A different newspaper article reports that 2 live rounds were found, but I think that seems weird. I think it's probably shell casings. Laurie's body was found in a spot that is a few blocks south of where Gerald lived at 1145 Whitcomb. Were they on their way back to drop Gerald off at home at the end of the date? It seems that that's probably what was happening. Reports that I've heard, other things that I've read, say that Gerald and Laurie went to the movies that night. They went to the drive-in movie. So I'm wondering who saw them while they were out. Was someone jealous? Was someone upset at seeing an interracial couple out on a date, and were they followed after that? My first thought was the stepfather. Did he kill them? Was he angry that they were out together and in his wife's car? What I found was that this was his car. The family, it seems, had one car, and he had come home from work, and she had asked to borrow the car, and he had said yes. And then Laurie took off toward Gary in the car to pick up Gerald and head to the movies. I also don't think that Sergeant Rodriguez had anything to do with this, not only because he didn't have a vehicle to get there, but if a police sergeant had done this, would he leave shell casings behind? I think not. Would a person with knowledge of police investigation leave Gerald's body in the back of the car to be towed into the police station? That just does not seem likely. But this is the mid 1970s, and anything is possible. But to me, I don't see this being the work of her stepfather. This case has many, many irregularities, in my opinion. No obituaries appeared in the paper for either victim. No notices appeared in the paper for funeral arrangements. There were no follow-up stories about the murders in 75 or in the following years. Neither of the victims' mothers' names appear on their death certificates. Why was that? Were people afraid to talk about this murder? Both Gerald and Laurie's death certificates don't mention their mothers' names. Why is that? It seems hasty, sloppy, and incomplete. I have seen a lot of death certificates in my work. This is the very first time I've seen an incomplete death certificate, let alone two. Gerald's death certificate was signed on April 10th and Laurie's on April 11th. That seems like plenty of time to gather the rest of the information needed. After all, April 6th was the day that they were out on the date and were killed. Again, I haven't come across any other death certificates where the victim's mother's names, whether living, dead, or divorced, is not listed. That might not mean anything, but it's very odd to me. Perhaps something like this is standard for the safety of the family if there's a police officer among the immediate family. I don't know, somebody in law enforcement would have to tell me about that. 50 years have passed. Laurie and Gerald were just kids when they were viciously gunned down. They deserve justice. They deserve to have their murders solved. Laurie's body was found at 4200 West 25th Avenue, according to her death certificate. A newspaper article reports that she was found off a path near 4307 West 25th Avenue, near the Small Farms area. Those two places aren't far apart at all. But was she walking or running away down the path when she was shot? Or was she near the car and then taken to the path? The situation of the two shell casings makes me think she was running down the path and was trying to get away from someone when she was run down and shot. She was found in the weeds off the side of the street there. It's overgrown and very wooded now, but there was a path at the time. There are older houses. There are houses that would have been there in 1975. Did anyone see anything or hear anything where they questioned that night or that next day about what they might have seen or heard? Who found Laurie's body? I tend to think both murders happened right there on 25th Avenue. It seems likely that the car was pulled over already or was forced to pull over. It's a rather busy street, so I imagine that the couple was not just parking there already. What was the state of the car? Was Gerald forced at gunpoint to get into the trunk and then shot? Are there bullet holes? Were there bullet holes in the trunk of the car? Or was he shot and then placed into the trunk? If Gerald was forced into the trunk, that would indicate that one person with a gun could have accomplished this murder. Was Gerald shot first and then placed into the trunk? that might indicate that two persons could be involved. It might take two people to lift him and put him into the trunk. Did Laurie run for her life into the weeds and trees before being gunned down? What was the reason to take the car all the way across town with Gerald's body in it? Was it because the killing of Laurie happened a few blocks south of Gerald's neighborhood? Was someone trying to put distance between Gerald and the car in Gerald's neighborhood? Was the killer maybe from around there? Who found Laurie's body? It was reported that the search for the couple did not begin until Sunday. The teens did not come home on Friday night. Was this because of a 24-hour policy? Sometimes police departments had a rule back in the day that a missing persons investigation could not be opened until the person had been missing for at least 24 hours. So what happened here? So little was written about these murders at the time, it's difficult to know or piece together what actually happened. Maybe someone knows something. With enough tips, perhaps this could be pieced together. If any evidence, fingerprints, or other things were saved, perhaps this case could be solved. After posting this case, I heard from family members of both victims, and I heard from people in the Gary area who never forgot this crime. People from Lew Wallace High School who knew Laurie and knew Gerald and really cared for both of them. They were both nice kids. They were, uh, you know, they weren't kids who were involved in any kind of trouble. They were just really good kids. So it just is there's not a person in their lives who stood out as a suspect to anyone. I know a lot of people suspected her stepfather, but there wasn't anyone who stood out as being jealous or angry. So it seems like this murder probably was the work of racially motivated individuals. It seems like definitely a hate crime. 2025 marks the 50th anniversary of this tragedy. The families of Laurie Jo Lopez and Gerald E. Bunche III deserve answers, and the two teens deserve justice after all these years. Maybe you heard or saw something that night that did not seem important then, but seems very significant now. Maybe you've overheard someone in the years between then and now say something about this that might lead to an arrest. If you have any information about the murders of Gerald and Laurie Jo, please call the Gary Police Department at 219-881-1300.